Hi, I'm Steve. I'm the bassist from Lipstick.
Hi, I'm Greg. I'm the lead singer from Lipstick Generation.
Oh, you're right. We changed our name, or whatever. Hey, we're talking about Smashing Pumpkins. That's why I'm the first mellifluous voice you heard.
Hey, Steve, what are we talking about today? What's Smashing Pumpkins' album, or EP?
EP? Yeah, we're talking about American Gothic, the 4 leftover songs that didn't make it onto bonus versions of Zeitgeist, apparently. And today we're joined by a bunch of folks. I wasn't really paying attention to them talking for the last hour.
I'll introduce them. Hey, it's Victor Krause. He's back on the show. Hi, Victor.
Hi there.
Hey, it's Julia Townshend. She is with Victor, which makes it really easy to book her also. Hi, Julia.
Hi.
Hey, I think, wait, is that the internet's #1 bad boy? No, it's not. It's Gavin. Hi, Gavin. Welcome back. But you know what? These last few Pumpkins albums haven't had someone screaming at me in rage. That's why we brought Craig Smith back onto the program from Pods and Sods, ready to tell us how wrong we are about this album. This is the hill he's going to die on, American Gothic. Welcome back, Craig.
Oh, it's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure to die on a hill.
Right?
And other poems by Stephen Smith.
Nothing more American than that.
Yep. Nothing more American. Gothic.
Oh.
There were not enough farmers on this album.
I was a little disappointed in the cover art.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we all were.
Why call it that?
Yeah.
You're not gonna do the thing.
Yeah, have Billy's face on the woman.
Yeah.
And Billy's face on the man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's kind of like how every Smashing Pumpkins album cover before this is just a literal translation of, its title. So this one really broke rank.
Well, that's because it's an EP, it's not an album.
Right.
That's why it's allowed to be different.
Adore had a picture of a door on the cover, as I recall.
Yeah. It was just Ray Manzarek.
They're so
Oh,
creative.
man, I appreciated that reference. So
Thank you,
thanks. I listen to The Doors also. I, too, have good taste.
Oh, I don't like the Doors all that much.
Oh, ouch. I think that Jim Morrison is overrated in a number of respects, but I think they're a phenomenal band who wrote some of the best songs ever. But anyway, we're talking about the Smashing Pumpkins. Typically, we start our episodes going around the panel talking about our histories with the band and the album. You know what, Craig? It's been a while since you've been on the show. I want to get your history with American Gothic, general thoughts, and how it relates to Zeitgeist, since you weren't on our Zeitgeist episode.
I wasn't a huge fan of Zeitgeist when it came out. I've been a Pumpkins fan since 93 or 94. This era, though, started what I thought was a really cool period of time for them, because it folds into the residency they did. They put out a documentary at this time, and right after this, they did their 20th anniversary tour. And I started to get into them like way heavier when this came out. I think this is a flawed release. I think they had songs better than this that they still have not done anything with. But that said, I think it's a good step forward from Zeitgeist.
So I actually, that brings me to a question that I have, which we sort of addressed a little bit on the Zeitgeist episode. As you know, Craig, I do not do nearly as much research as I should on these Pumpkins episodes, and you have criticized me for that in the past.
So that hasn't changed.
That hasn't changed. And Steve, the guy who supposedly likes this band, knows even less about them than I do, which is impressive. But
when he gave you the disc of this, did he put the 4 songs in the right order? Or
oh, no, he didn't even know this existed. I had to bring it up to him.
Okay.
Yeah. I've never bought Pumpkins EPs particularly much. Like, I've never much liked the idea of EPs. It's not I like the hour-long albums, more bang for your buck.
Did anybody actually have a physical release of this, or did everybody have like a download? I had 4 YouTube links.
Yep.
So you
I
never
also had those.
You never
4
actually like
YouTube
owned the
links.
disc? Not this, no. Interesting. Because this was I bought this at the time, and I don't have it anymore, but it was like It was a laser printed cover. Like, you could tell it wasn't professionally done.
Oh God.
And I was just looking on Discogs. It looks like it wasn't released in the U.S. physically at all. So I wonder if mine was like a counterfeit, or if it was just like a Canadian pressing or something.
Yeah, not sure, but
because it was an iTunes. I mean, it started out as an iTunes release.
Okay, I was going
think
to say,
it
like, if they did that, then how did we even find out about this existing?
Yeah, it started out as a download release, and Corgan put the covers on the website, but then certain countries pressed it. But it looks like they might have just taken to an inkjet printer with the files on smashingpumpkins.com and sent them out to whoever bought it.
all right. So I feel better about my due diligence and finding out it existed, and at least I did it before we did the Nets Pumpkins album. Unfortunately, I totally missed the Future Embrace in our discography, so we have to go back and do that. So apologies for doing that slightly out of order, Pumpkins fans. But on the Zeitgeist episode, there was a debate between myself and Steve, and he was arguing that in the past the Pumpkins would have like 200 something songs or whatever when they were writing an album. They would write all those songs and then release like the best 15, and then the rest would be on B-sides. And he said, but with the Zeitgeist, there just wasn't as much material to pull from, and that they didn't do that this time around. I'm paraphrasing. But did they have that same wealth of material to pull from during the Zeitgeist American Gothic era as in previous eras?
I would say American Gothic definitely. In fact, when they did the residencies, I think, and I haven't watched the documentary, it was called If All Goes Wrong, and I recommend it. I haven't watched it in quite a few years, but I think that he wrote a new song for each show. But again, some of the other, and they were all acoustic tinged, and they performed the songs from this and the songs written on the residency kind of throughout the 20th anniversary tour. And on the documentary and on the live show featured in the documentary, there are a bunch of those songs, and they're great. Peace and Love, 99 Floors, Awada. All this stuff could have made a really great album. And it's so, yes, but that stuff didn't even end up as B-sides. It just ended up on this weird live DVD.
Cool. Which means another episode to do.
Yeah. But yeah, I think Corgan's acoustic stuff around this time was pretty top notch.
Yeah, I agree. I guess I'll go next with my history with the band and this release. Grew up in the 90s, thought the Pumpkins sucked. Eventually learned that they don't suck. There is a side of the Pumpkins that I generally like, which is the acoustic stuff, the ballads, the softer side of the Pumpkins, the more melodic, the more optimistic side. So it's like, hey, when they do a release that's full of stuff like that, I tend to enjoy it more. I've received criticism on past episodes, mostly from Steve. So hi, buddy.
Hey.
Addressing your criticism directly, as that not being really what the Pumpkins is about. They're supposed to be this big, angsty alternative rock band. Like half the discography is the stuff that I like. So it's not like I like this one fringe era of the Pumpkins where it's like I just like their one Music from the Elder album. I like, you could probably of the style of Pumpkin songs I like, you could easily put like a playlist of like 100 or 200 of them. There's a ton of them, a lot of them on their biggest releases. So it's not like this is a fringe side of the Pumpkins that people don't know exists. It's maybe not their most popular side, but it is pretty much consistently represented throughout their career and the side I gravitate towards. So I like this release. It was enjoyable. Steve, your turn, and then you can respond to my defense.
Yeah, okay. So I've probably listened to this EP less than Greg has, actually, because usually I listen to music while I'm at work, and this last couple of weeks, my work has all been watching training videos, so I don't have time to listen to music. I thought this EP was overall, it was pretty good. It was a nice little aside of acoustic songs that probably would have been much more pleasant to listen to in a not crappy lossy format like YouTube videos or iTunes MP3s. Yeah, found out about it when Greg said, "Hey, we're gonna do this one," and I'm just like, "Okay, whatever episodes we're doing now. We got through all the good Smashing Pumpkins. Hey yo, so let's do the rest too, I suppose."
And Victor, what is your history with the Pumpkins and this EP?
So I was a little conflicted on coming on this episode because I met Billy Corgan in around 2004, I think. And, we would chit chat every once in a while. And then eventually that led me to being sort of a backing vocalist in the Sleepy Corgan Choir. And, so I was actually around for a lot of these sessions. And you'll hear me on one of the songs in this particular album. So I was a little conflicted on coming on this album, but Billy's a good friend, and I like his work, and I do like this EP quite a bit.
And Julia, have you met Billy Corgan through your relationship with Victor?
No, he won't let me because he knows what I would do.
What's your history with this album and the Pumpkins?
I was born in 1996. So the Pumpkins were over by the time I was old enough to care about music in that sense. I think they're a fine band. This EP is fine also, but I've still never listened to any of their good albums. I have only listened to Zeitgeist and this. So, I have a limited frame of reference here. I like the older songs of theirs that I've heard. I think they're just fine.
Gavin, what's your history with this EP?
Apparently, it's tough to get
Pumpkins
fans.
Well, here's the thing. I will, being completely honest, as I've been booking for this podcast for a while now, when I reach out to a lot of the Pumpkins fans, they're much more angry and angsty and less agreeable to book on episodes. Versus Kiss fans, like, yeah, I'll talk about Kiss. I'm in a good mood. For some reason, Pumpkins fans less in a good mood. Maybe it's all the angsty songs that they like so much.
They've heard your
Billy's
opinions
fault.
on the Pumpkins, Greg.
Yeah, that's more like what it is.
They heard my opinions on Gish, which was a boring album.
Anyone got
So
a
nothing's
chair?
changed.
I'm going to chuck it at a chicken chaser.
I have my drops, so now I have an obligation.
American Gothic is better than Gish. Gavin, what's your history with this EP?
Well, I mean, when this thing came out, you just couldn't get away from it. It was just fucking everywhere. So, I had it because,
It existed.
Pumpkins were the most relevant group of that year. No, I can't keep that going. I honestly, I was not. I had already kind of fallen out with the Pumpkins by like Zeitgeist, and so I think I remember hearing about this coming out just because I was still, I would keep an ear out for Pumpkin stuff or whatever. But I had never heard it until I listened to it for this ranking. So it's a lot of the post Machina stuff is new to me. So.
All right, well, fair enough. Well, hey, kids, we're ready to get into this ranking. For first-time listeners of the show, why are you listening to this?
Yeah, what's
episode
this first one? Go to the Speedball Jam episode.
Yeah, go to the reveal episode.
Both of those would also be really weird places to start as well. Maybe less so than Speedball Jam, which breaks the format of the show. But this is a ranking show, so each panelist ranks the songs from best to least best. We add up the points and then see where the songs end up in the ranking. 4-song EP, best song gets 4 points, least best song gets 1 point. So coming in at the bottom of our ranking is B-Nips, Billy Corgan's Nipples, as voted by Victor.
Oh, wow.
Because somebody has to put that one in every episode since Adore.
I forgot to. Well, not forgot to, but I just typed my rankings up quick. But I'm B-Nib.
Or hey, Future Embrace. That will be the actual album that has B-Nips. So
Yeah.
we'll get to that with Future Embrace, our next Pumpkins episode, because Billy Corgan solo is the Smashing Pumpkins. Go ahead and at me. You know I'm right. But yeah, B-Nips, Terrifying Nightmare Pellets. Any other comments on B-Nips before we move on?
Gavin, where would you have put B-Nips?
Definitely below all the songs. Like, I don't think that there's anything on this that's below the B-Nips or sub-pasticcio barrier.
Okay.
Like, nothing is that offensive. It's like with Pumpkin stuff that I don't like, there's kind of aggressively forgettable tunes, and then the tunes that make me angry to listen to. You know, Soul Power, Home.
Home is great.
Home is good.
Fuck you.
That was that was more of a, that was no, Home actually is more in my songs that I forget about until Craig's on the episode and I want to make him yell at me.
Missed you too, buddy.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, no, definitely B-Nips would have been below all the songs.
Oh, fair enough. So coming in as the actual least best song on this EP, this should hopefully be a nice trim short episode, but who knows what'll happen. Coming in at the bottom, we've got Sunkist.
Which I called exactly correctly.
Whoa.
I actually called this entire
What?
ranking.
Why?
Because I'm great.
Well, no, not that. Why? How was Sunkist the lowest rated tune?
I liked Sunkist a lot too, Gavin.
That, I mean, doesn't help me.
I put
Yeah,
it
for
really
once
high.
I'm on the same page as Gavin. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here.
Yeah. No, I'm kidding.
Here's-
You help me.
Here's what I will say. I don't think there's a bad song on this EP, and I think because these songs are kind of close to each other in quality, there's not necessarily a standout easily best song on this, in my opinion, and not necessarily a standout easily worst. There's a lot of good Pumpkins elements throughout this release, and I think because they're so close in quality, this would be a very swingy panel where there's just the ability to be like, you know what, this is the one that struck the chord with me for this reason. And my ranking kept changing. So sometimes this would be second from the top. It ended up at the bottom of my ranking, but that doesn't mean I don't like it. It just means they're all just very close in quality, and I had to stick a number on it and just let it go. I think it's a good song. I think the one weakness of this song is that I think it's a little bit too long for what it is. I think if it was just a minute shorter, I think it'd be a stronger piece. But I think good melody, good lyrics, good sense of atmosphere. It's pretty. I like it. It's just I had to stick it somewhere, and that's where I put it.
I'm 100% with you.
That's what Sonic said.
What else did Sonic say?
He said many things, like, that's no good. I'm going to remove the rest of the context of that quote.
This EP has 2 memorable good songs and 2 bland, forgettable tunes. This is one of the memorable good songs.
Agreed.
See, I'm sort of...
I don't know that I'd say forgettable for the other 2, but I think that there are a clear 1 and 2 and a clear 3 and 4.
And I'm curious if so I already think Sunkist is both of our top 2s. I'm curious if we agree on what the other one is.
Knowing you, probably not. But
No.
Oh,
You're such a dick, Gavin. Yeah, in fact, like when I was listening today, I was thinking that my 1 and 2, if I would have given you the list today instead of yesterday, my 1 and 2 would be swapped and my 3 and 4 would be swapped, which means that Sunkist, which was my number 2, would have been number 1. So yeah, I think this is a great song.
yeah, I agree.
I wholeheartedly agree with what Greg said. I do also agree it should be about a minute shorter, but I really like the atmosphere of it. I love the little guitar melody in the sort of coda section. And yeah, this was my number 1 for a long while until I kind of just decided it was a little too long.
Yeah.
But I think this actually I think would have served really well as the last song on a longer album, or on a full length album rather.
Yeah, I was just going to say, you guys complaining about Sunkist being 5 minutes and 11 seconds. I had to sit through 50 minutes of New Order's transmission when I saw Smashing Pumpkins in 1998. I had to listen to goddamn Silverfuck on the Melancholy tour that's still playing right now.
Well, hey, first off, you're lucky for that one. I mean, that's...
No. I'm going to side with Craig on that one pretty hard. Look, I mean, as far as long Pumpkin songs go, this isn't egregious.
This is the shortest long Pumpkin song.
I was going to say.
What I would say is that this is a song that I think you could have trimmed the fat to make it better, but it's not bad. It just you could have tightened it up, and I think it would have been better, and the song would have shown a bit more, and would have just been a stronger piece. But I think it's still good as is, and I wouldn't call this. The Pumpkins have some really long songs, absolutely. But I think this one, it just needs to trim the fat a little bit, in my opinion.
So my reason for putting this one at the bottom is that I'm not excited about the production of it. I feel like a lot of this EP had this sort of both overproduced and underproduced thing going on, where Billy was trying to do a whole bunch of interesting things with a limited palette of instruments, but he wasn't doing some of the basic things that you do to make a coherent recording. Like, the big thing he runs into is he's got the choir of Billies, and it's dry. It's a dry choir of Billies, and it doesn't sit in the mix well, and it just kind of pops out and is annoying, and it's just use some reverb, Billies. Of the two songs that I noticed it particularly egregiously on, I feel like this is the one that had the weaker melody of the two. So that's why it ended up at the bottom.
Honestly, that's a pretty fair assessment. I don't mind the vocal production, but this is a case where I actually really respect that analysis. And I see where he's coming from. Like,
if you put a song like this in one of their really solid albums, like if this was somewhere in the middle of Melancholy or even Machina, I think it would be a really interesting divergence from things, and it'd be one of those things it might still rank low for the same reasons, but you'd respect it a lot more. You'd be like, okay, this one's really weird, but I like listening to it in the context of the album.
I don't know if I could call Machina a solid album. I heard you say that, and then I thought I had a little pang of
I love Machina. But we've had this conversation already.
Yeah, I know. That's
Machina has some really high highs, but I think a lot of it falls into the realm of mediocre, at least in the Pumpkins catalog. But I think this is a strong composition. Even though I ranked it at the bottom, I still like it. And I'd rather listen to this than Bullet with Butterfly Wings. Any other? Julia, you ranked this at the bottom.
I did. I think I definitely agree with you for the reasons you put it at the bottom. And my other thing with it is just that this EP doesn't have enough range within it that this song is allowed to shine.
Right.
Whereas if it was on a full album and it was surrounded with other songs that just had a little more dynamic energy, I think I would like it a lot more. But at this point, I don't know, everything just sort of bled together, and I like all the songs, but I do think they just don't really separate from each other.
Somehow it sounds like filler on a 4-song EP.
It just doesn't sound distinct.
These songs don't complement each other very well in making them stand out from each other.
Yeah.
You're beaten up on a good song just because it doesn't fit on an album of bad songs.
Look, I think it's a good song, and the way that I kind of look at these songs is that maybe as a release, American Gothic isn't the best listen, but I think in terms of the overall Pumpkins catalog, if you put these on a playlist, I think they're a good, refreshing change of pace.
It could be, yeah. Yeah. Which, for an iTunes original release, that sort of makes sense. In the early days of iTunes, people were still really figuring out how to make that individual songs that you can listen to whenever you want model work artistically. So you ended up with things like, They Might Be Giants, Apollo 11, I think it was, with the Apollo 18 with the fingertip suite, where there's like, here's 20 songs that are all less than 30 seconds long. Put your CD in the player and hit shuffle. Like, this, it ends up being one of those things where this might have been something that worked really well conceptually with new technology as it emerged, where you take these 4 songs and you create your own Smashing Pumpkins album that features all of your favorite songs from their entire history, and then you sneak these ones in there to like give it a little bit more dynamic, because maybe you were like, oh shoot, I did nothing but all of the rockers. Well, Sunkist will take the edge off.
Yeah, it's a good breather song on an album full of breathing songs.
Yeah.
I do really like it. I think in terms of the sequencing, like, maybe I would have ranked it higher if it had played earlier in the album or something. I don't know.
Sequencing is tough when it's 4 songs.
When it's 4, I know.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just like, I don't know, just sort of bled with the other songs, and then I just didn't really feel as giving towards it, even though I do like it.
I mean, it also should be said, I mean, you have 4 songs on an acoustic EP. They're fairly similar in terms of like the cloth they're cut from. One thing I do want to say before I forget, though, I think across the board, Billy's lyrics on this EP are really, really great.
I agree fully with that.
Really great.
Yeah, I heard them.
I listened to them also.
I don't know. We probably shouldn't encourage Billy to like on his lyricism, because then he'll write more poetry books.
I won't encourage Billy on anything.
Yeah.
You know what, Billy? I'm going to encourage you. You do you. You do what makes you feel artistically satisfied and happy, and continue to grow and evolve. And
he's
you,
gonna,
Billy.
and that's the problem.
Right?
Oh, so you're the fan that he's talking about on his Instagram stories.
Pretty much. Because look at everything he's done since Zwan.
I don't agree. I think there are some really strong points.
And there's some really strong points, and then there's that 8-hour experimental reading of the Bhagavad Gita in his tea shop.
Yeah, I mean...
That happens too.
That is a thing that happened. We cannot stop this man, so we might as well bitch about him.
The abandoned like America songs project thing, right? Where he did that one residency where he was just playing old folk tunes or something.
Yeah, like Chicago Kid and all that stuff.
Yeah.
That sounds awesome.
I don't think it ever got released, right?
But he said, people ask about this, and he says at some point it'll come out. So there's tons of stuff that's going to come out.
Yeah, it's one of those. It's the Machina box. It's the final show DVD.
I'm waiting for him to finish Tear Garden by Kaleidoscope.
Right? We are like 50 tracks short of that being finished.
Because that was pretty great.
And I was hamming it up for the joke. I mean, Billy should, of course, continue to expand and spread his weird little wings, but
wings.
Yeah.
I would rather have an artist expand and grow than to become stale and uninteresting. Like one of my favorite bands of all time is Loudness, and they reached a point where I couldn't keep listening to them because they evolved in a direction I didn't like. But I respect the hell out of them for doing it. And they just like kept evolving and kept changing. And every now and then I'd check in on them, and there'd be some stuff that I would be into. And so I just respect an artist just like going for it and being authentic rather than just, being a stale imitation of their past selves. So good on you, Billy Corgan. You do you.
Yeah, kind of like how Monster was Kiss really, pushing themselves and breaking new ground.
I think that criticism applies to Sonic Boom. I feel like Monster at least like felt more organic than Sonic Boom.
Oh my fucking god!
Oh, Craig.
But you know what? You guys can listen to that Monster episode and decide for yourself on our analysis. But anyway, back to
Craig
this.
and I should do our. Sorry.
You know what? Do a podception. Listen to both parts of Monster and just talk over it.
Yeah. You want to do that, Craig?
But then I gotta listen.
Oh, we don't have to listen to the album. We just have to listen to them.
That's true. That is true. I would rather listen to them than Kiss.
If you end up doing that, just send it to me. I'll put it in the feed. Anytime you guys want to do a podception, I will put it in the feed.
I think
you're listening to every episode anyway. If you want to do a podception on one, just do it.
I'll probably have to do
Podception,
that with
aka the
Zeitgeist.
Lipstick Panel remix album.
There you go.
Right. Like that Regdar and the Fighter single, Victor the Hedgehog.
Right.
Yeah.
I was going to say like that Regdar and the Fighters remix of our podcast episodes where I just put the words in a random order.
Oh, the William S. Burroughs edition.
Sounds terrible. But
It does. I'm probably going to try to do that sometime.
I'll see about putting that in the feed. I have to see what a dumpster fire it is before I decide. But then again, you're the one who puts them in the feed, so actually you have all the power.
I do.
am at your mercy.
Ha
So next up in the ranking is my favorite song on the EP. We've got Again. That's on the list.
This should have been last.
This was exactly
Julia,
where it was supposed to be.
Julia, you said I knew it. You knew this would be my favorite.
Yes. This has very, very powerful Greg energy.
But you also seem to like it, and in the chat you told me I was terrible and full of shit. So, why do you like this song that's full of Greg energy?
You know, like all the other songs, I thought it was fine. Just kind of a nice chill tune, just like the other songs. Yeah, I don't know. I liked it.
It's the Roy Thomas Baker production.
It just spoke to me.
So, Gavin, you don't like that Greg energy, so tell me why you didn't like this one.
It's forgettable and boring, and I have no idea why Pete Townshend liked it. Because that's the thing that happened.
Because Pete Townshend writes boring, forgettable music most of the time.
But it's it's a.
Oh, sorry, I forgot to turn my car off.
My rights here.
Julia, you don't have to cover for Victor's love of remote control cars anymore. It's fine.
I told him to wait till after we were done recording.
I'm bored.
It's because you're thinking about again.
I don't want to think about smashing pumpkins. I want to smash boxcars, racers.
Yeah, let's do a boxcar racer episode.
Boxcar 20? But
Boxcars by REM.
Ooh.
A carnival of sorts is what.
See, that's how memorable and interesting this song is. We can't talk about it.
Well, I'm letting the people who don't like it talk first, so then I can say nice things about it. So, Craig, it's your turn.
Again, what did I have this as 4?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, if I'd have done this today, it would have been 3. Yeah, I think it's just under the halfway mark for me. I don't hate it. I think there's a lot of great stuff about it.
Victor, you don't like that Greg energy either. What's your thoughts on this one?
So actually, I of this EP, I think I like 3 of these songs genuinely, and this one for a while was my number 2. And I think I just ended up being like, I think Again actually has higher highs than Sunkist, but I like Sunkist the entire time, and I'm not wild about the verses on this one, but I like the chorus of this one, and I really like his more upbeat performance in the second chorus in particular. And then Julia just pointed to something in my notes, which is the bridge is not horrible, maybe even good.
So Steve,
yeah, I don't actually dislike this song. I think there's only one song on this album that I would say I generally dislike.
And
I
I'll
just think this song
co-sign.
is pleasant and warm.
I'll co-sign on the chorus being much better than the verses. I think that might be why it falls below my halfway point. I love the chorus. versus. I don't even care.
Steve, you ranked this correctly because your ranking is correct.
Exactly.
Thoughts on this?
My general thought on this one is fine, but just the drums sound like a hybrid of Home and Age of Innocence, and just I hear that drum part come in, and I'm like, oh, I would rather be listening to Age of Innocence, though. It has a good chorus. The verse vocals I was not impressed by. They sounded too much like El Sol.
Like Elsa?
El Sol, the Swan song. Just like
I hear Elsa.
It's a decent song, but I'd rather be listening to either Machina.
Then El Sol or then never mind.
I mean, then either, then El Sol too. But you listen to a Machina or listen to Zwan, I'm like, let's take a Machina.
Oh, buddy.
I think this is better than both Age of Innocence and El Sol. I love the lyrics in this one. I think the lyrics are really, really great. So that might be what's pushing it higher for me. But I just love those overly romantic Pumpkin songs. They work for me. And I love the drumming on this track. I think it has good momentum. I like the melodies during the verse and chorus quite a bit. Just something about just like the very passionate Billy Love songs where, this is definitely nowhere near as good as, let's say, Stand Inside Your Love. But it's
nothing is.
Nothing is. But I'm saying it's the kind of song that if you're in the mood for a variation on that flavor of the Pumpkins, this song delivers. And because it comes off as authentic and not like a retread, it's another shade of Billy's personality and writing that I like quite a bit. And it's just an excellent example of that. So for me, this completely works. And it's one of the sides of the Pumpkins that I love about the band. So yeah, that's why it was my favorite on the album. But the thing is, it was very close with the other songs. And, very close with my number 2, especially because I think the lyrics in that one are brilliant. But this one just won out because, it has that Greg energy.
Greg energy.
A Greg.
So what you're saying, this song is Stand Inside Your Love, fucked Age of Innocence.
Yes, so less good than
either of those
Stand
tunes.
Inside Your Love, but Age of Innocence, so it's like if Age of Innocence rubbed off on Stand Inside Your Love and made it worse.
Age of Innocence, Greg, is one of the top 10 greatest Smashing Pumpkins tunes, probably.
Okay.
And didn't you write it out like note for note, or was that you, Steve?
That was me. I
was
transcribed it to try to get my course teacher to make it our graduation theme. She opted for Good Riddance by Green Day.
Wow, what a surprise call.
Right.
How innovative.
Right. How innovative. A graduating class in the early 2000s using that
Who would
Green
have
Day
seen
song.
that coming?
Us. It was also our 8th grade graduation theme.
No way. Who would have thought?
So you're
no one's
saying
ever used that before.
You're saying that the people in Cassville, Wisconsin weren't the most clever.
Not generally, no.
I am
Did you say
shocked.
Kafka, Wisconsin?
Casville.
Castlevania, Wisconsin.
Yeah, I mean, I wish. Then there'd be like reverse mode once you finished with
That'd
it.
be pretty cool.
Steve would be a much cooler person if he was from Castlevania, Wisconsin.
Like, I'd be very good at jumping, and my town would be upside down right now.
That TV show is so good. That's what I know it.
I haven't seen it.
Watch it.
Really, my knowledge of Castlevania is like the one really awesome song from the soundtrack, and that intro where the guy throws the wine glass and say, "What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets." And that's like, kind of all I know about Castlevania, but I feel like I already have the best of it with those two things.
That's pretty much it.
I've only seen the first season of the show, but I thought it was really good, actually.
Oh, it's amazing.
But yeah,
My non-anime watching betrothed really likes the show, actually. I've only
I'm
watched
not an anime guy at all.
2 episodes.
Yeah.
It seems like a good anime for non-anime watchers.
Well, I don't even think of it as an anime. Though it does give me plenty of ooh-woo and kami-wummies.
Do you make the ahigao face every time you watch Castlevania?
So much so that I'm eating it, making that face, serving it up with a nice big bowl of General Ahegao's chicken.
That's actually what coronavirus was all about, is just like all of these anime conventions couldn't enforce their don't wear your damn hang-out hoodie policies. So they just sort of engineered coronavirus so that guys couldn't go out in public with those things on anymore.
Someone did come into my work wearing one of those one time.
Oh, gross.
I don't know what the sweater is, though. I know the face.
What is the ahegao or whatever it is? I don't know.
Is it one of those sweaters that like zips up all the way over your face?
It should, so you can hide your shame.
Yeah. I mean, I'm just imagining a sweater covered in drool.
It's
as an ahegao sweater.
Yeah.
Okay. For folks at home who don't know what you're talking about, including me, what are you talking about?
We're talking about cartoon porn, Greg. What else would we be talking about?
Oh, got it. Okay. Do we have any comments on this song before we move on?
Yeah. Do we think Billy Corgan is a weeb?
Almost certainly.
But he's seen shapeshifters.
Yeah.
So anyway, next up on the list is Rose March, my number 2 song. Steve's number 2 song.
Correctly.
Steve and I are both correct about this one.
Mm-hmm.
No, you're not.
Nuh-uh.
All right, so Craig, you put this as your number 1 song. Victor, you put this as your bottom song. I would like the two of you to talk with each other.
Julia beat me to it. I was about to post the same photo.
Okay.
Oh, God damn it.
Nice.
Did you guys get to it before I did?
Yeah.
Everyone stop. I already handled it.
Oh, well, no.
Everybody stop Googling ahegao quick.
And I haven't been looking at the group chat. Craig and Victor, I want you two to exchange in a dialogue about this.
Okay, who starts first?
Craig, you're probably more knowledgeable about the pumpkins, so we'll get that take, and then we'll get my dumbass thoughts.
Okay, let me say this. There's a caveat. I have a long time of hearing much better versions of this song. I think that the studio version is the worst one. Every live version is amazing. It's on the documentary DVD. There's a great version of them doing it on the Chris Isaak show, if you can cast your mind back that far. And it is a great, great song. I don't think the studio version nails it. And if I was going strictly on what the EP presents, I might not have put it at number 1. But I think as a song that I've heard them do much better than it is here, I think it's number 1. So there's a caveat to it. But I think it's great. The one thing that I think is incredibly weird about it is I'm pretty sure this is where he starts to inflict a very weird affect in his singing, where he separates the first consonant from the rest of the word. Did you guys notice that?
Slowpokes.
He says pigeon toed, and he also says, I just can't help but say so. Can't you see me? It's
just
really weird.
Is it
Billy
just like
Bjorken.
over
I was gonna say,
compression?
it's like he just can't do it like Bjork does.
Yeah, it's not compression, because he on that tour he started doing it on every song. Like tonight, he was like, "Time is never the time." It's something. It's something he decided to do, and it's terrible. He still does it at times. Yeah, but this seemed to be like the birth and height of it, and it's incredibly weird.
So oddly enough, like you said, it might not be number 1 if you're going purely on what the EP presented, which is what I was going on. You probably still wouldn't have put it at number 4.
Probably.
But to me, this is like all the complaints that we had on Zeitgeist about the Sleepy Corgan Choir. That's this. This is that writ large. They're like on edibles and melatonin. And I really hate the second verse of this song.
Yeah.
Because it's just, he'll say something and then us choir boys will come in going, ah. And then
wait. I'm going to set it up for you. Ready?
Yeah.
Shell shocked.
Oh,
and shocked.
oh, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, I'll
It's
give
like
it to
I'm
you.
listening to it all over again.
Yeah, I got to give it up to you there. Yeah.
So there's that. I think I kind of put it in the context of Zeitgeist. Like, oh, if I was making a sort of a mashup of this and Zeitgeist, I think this is the only one that maybe wouldn't make my cut, but it's better than a little less than half of that album. Mm-hmm. So I don't outright hate this song. I just kind of hate that bit. And I'm also not wild about the just this kind of strum pattern. So that's just another personal bias thing.
Like a 12.
Yeah.
Kind of thing.
And then on top of that, it just kind of made me laugh the second time I listened to it, because it was like, this sounds like Billy Corgan got a home studio set up for the first time and then opened his DAW and then found a preset that was like, oh, singer-songwriter preset. I'm a singer-songwriter. So, I mean, like, that's not bad. It's just like, it's kind of funny, and I actually liked the rest of the songs more.
Yeah, I would say to all of you and anybody listening, check out, I think it's live at the Fillmore, because that's where they did the residency. It's on YouTube. He opens the show with it, just him. So he doesn't get a chance to do the at least not that I remember. They didn't pipe them in, so yeah, I think it's worth watching. But yeah, the song over the production for me.
Okay, fair enough.
But I think that also lyrically it propels it too, because I think that the end with the I'll lay roses at your feet, we've just begun to grieve the space, like all that stuff, I think is just really great. I think it ends really well.
Oh, that's another thing that I didn't mention on this episode, but that I usually mention. I basically can't hear lyrics, and not because I can't literally hear them, but just because I constantly tune them out. So when you guys were talking about how good the lyrics were on this album, I just believed you.
Yeah, just take it from us. It's great lyrics.
This is why we're a good match, is because we're both totally lyrics deaf. I do not hear them.
And yeah, so we don't hear what each other says at all.
No.
Just it's perfect.
Maybe you guys should speak to each other instead of singing at each other. You might have a clearer communication.
Oh.
But I love to sing.
And I was in the Billy Corgan Sleepy Choir.
Oh yeah, gotta get that.
Gotta get that.
Billy Corgan ahego.
Gotta go fast.
I'll make that later.
Thank you.
So, Julia, you ranked this a second from the bottom, but you were actually pretty positive about Sunkist, which you ranked at the bottom. So, what are your general thoughts on this one?
I love this song in theory, but not in practice. When the album opened, I was like, this is very exciting. And then it kept going, and I was like, there's some stuff that has got to be deleted. Let me have the masters, please. I'll fix it. Yeah, no, I was like, I really like the stuff at play, but then I also hate the chorus of Billy's and would sooner see them destroyed.
Must
that
destroy
sort of
the
thing.
Billies.
I will end them. But the rest of it, I think, is really, really good.
Gavin, do you think the song is really, really good?
No. I think it's the other forgettable one.
Now.
Oh, now is the St. Vincent song.
We all love St. Vincent here.
Right.
Do you not?
American Vincent.
I've only heard one song.
Nice.
So Steve, you ranked the second. Why did you
Gavin's
think about this?
So I don't know.
It's good. St. Vincent. This one's just forgettable, and like, this song, it started, it opened it up, it happened. I saw on YouTube that there's a live version on the Chris Isaak hour. I thought, I wonder if that live version's any better. And then I was going to click on it, but then I thought, oh, I'd have to hear the song again, though. And then I moved on, you know.
You know, I'm less insistent that my opinions on this particular song are right. I personally ranked it second, the correct place to put it ultimately. But just like it has a lot of the same flaws of Sunkist, where it's got that, you know, the choir of Billies that don't sit in the mix. But I think it's got a more interesting arrangement. There's, you know, some cool stuff happens throughout the song to help offset that choir of Billies. But I'm not going to, like, really fight anybody over where they wanted to put it. Unless they wanted to put it number one, then I'd be like, I think you're wrong, though.
Yeah, I already got that argument. By the way, Gavin, do you remember that song that the collaboration that St. Vincent did with Billy Corgan?
No. What was it?
Fear the Future Embrace.
Nice.
Thank you.
Well, there was the St. Vincent Zwan collaboration.
Oh, what was that?
Merry Northern Star of the Sea.
Oh, nicely done.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would say this one probably has the best lyrics on the entire album. I ranked it second because, again, had that big Greg energy. And, you know, this song, I think it's a very pure artistic statement. I think it's, you know, because we're, you know, addressing the evolution of the Pumpkins and people not accepting Billy Corgan as he was trying new things artistically. That's kind of what the song is about. And just a really brilliant lyrical piece. And I think musically, I find it very catchy. I like the production. Yeah, it works for me. So it's a thumbs up.
I think that the thing that bums me out the most about this is what I've just learned is that big Craig energy is.
I don't know. It's a pretty big compliment. That's part of this whole EP. Oh.
The harmony there.
Ooh, what's this?
That was something else.
Well, hey, good news, gang. We're at the #1 song of the ranking.
Hey.
Hooray!
Oh, this means everyone got it right.
Yeah.
Sort of. Two people did not get it right. Craig and myself both put it in the same spot. So let's go through the ranking from the bottom to the top. B-Nips. Sunkist. Again. Rose March. But the best song on American Gothic by the Smashing Pumpkins, according to this panel, is Pox.
Yeah.
Yay!
The standard alt-rock song.
Yeah, it's Billy doing what he do best.
I don't know if this is what Billy does best. It's a thing that he does sometimes and does pretty well, but I don't think it's him doing what he does best.
Sounds like a Bad Machine outtake.
See, I thought this was a particularly interesting song because it does sound very much like I described it as aggressively 90s. It sounds like a standard alt-rock song, but not the sort of standard alt-rock song the Pumpkins did. It sounds like them trying to sound like everybody else in the late 90s rather than trying to sound like themselves in the late 90s, which I think is, at this point in their career, is a cool take.
You know what? I respect that. And I think part of the reason I didn't like it is that it just sounded like generic alt-rock song that the computer algorithm came up with. And part of the appeal of the Pumpkins was that they had their own unique flavor that was very different from all the other alt-rock bands, where they really kind of stood out like a sore thumb. And so it is interesting to hear this vanilla of a take of alt-rock by them. It's not bad. I think part of the reason I might have ranked it lower is that I just generally don't like the genre as much.
I love the shade, though, Greg. It was a really bold artistic choice for them to sound like boring garbage.
Yeah, it was really bold of them to do that. But I don't think it's a bad song. I don't think there's a bad song on here. But I think that this wasn't necessarily interesting in terms of the new ground it tread for them. But I think it's not bad. I think there's a very good bass line in this song. And, you know, kind of a cool riff. Melody is competent. So it's not bad. It's just less interesting to me personally.
I concur. For once with you.
Hey, thanks, buddy.
Which means that, yeah, people are going to start shitting on me about my hot takes, apparently.
I mean, I feel it's a pretty nuanced take to have on this one. I recognize that some of my takes are scorching hot. I feel like the Pumpkins doing a generic alt rock song being okay isn't that hot of a take.
Yeah, I'm pretty baffled by this one. I never would have expected that it would have been this. And like I said, if it was today, my 3 and 4 would have swapped, which would have meant that this would have been my number 4 had I given it to you today.
That still wouldn't have been enough to bring it down in the ranking.
It was 5 points ahead of second place.
No, I'm just saying that to say that I'm just incredibly shocked that it is number 1.
I mean, it's a pretty swingy panel, but if you think about it, you've got
1 and 4 have consensus though. Like 4 of us put this one in first place, 3 of us put Sunkist in last place. I feel like there's strong consensus on those 2.
Well, I feel like the consensus here is that, this is an album that most of us don't have, or EP, sorry, that most of us don't have strong opinions on. And you've got 3 people on this panel who are, I would say, actually 4 people on this panel who are generally into alternative rock as a genre, just are into that kind of music. And so the song that sounds like maybe the most well-crafted in that genre is going to appeal to fans of that kind of music, as opposed to the other ones, which I feel are more distinct and unique in terms of not sounding like other bands necessarily.
I think this song, it sounded the best. I remembered it. It had a good rock and roll beat.
Yes.
Well, that's some praise right there.
That's my highly nuanced. No, but
it's got Jimmy on the drums. It's got a good rock and roll beat.
Got a good
best goddamn drummer in America.
He is phenomenal, but
he is. That's what I'm saying.
No, on the real though, no, I just thought that this one reminded me spiritually of Hello Kitty Cat from Pisces Iscariot, which is another song that I love. And I can't exactly put my finger on why I link those 2 songs together, but I just do. And so, yeah, it's a type of song that Billy writes that I like.
This is good rock and roll music.
So I think Billy wrote this after losing his electric guitar at some point. I think this actually, I think I would have liked to have heard a more full Zeitgeist version of. I do like the vibe with it's just kind of being the acoustic bass and drums, but I think a fuller take would be really cool as well. And this initially started as my number 3, I think, the first time I listened through the album, and it just kind of jumped up with each successive listen. And I think it has some of the only lyrics on this whole EP that I heard, which made me think that it was about Final Fantasy VII, because he talks about ancients and dreams being given back and all that. Mm-hmm. So there's that. That helped a little bit. Yeah, but I like this song enough that I would seek out additional or more fully produced versions of it if those exist.
This song went straight to number 1 for me. First time I heard it, I was like, yeah, this one's the best one. And I never swayed. I just really like it.
Even as I tried to be like, but Sunkist is the best one.
Fuck Sunkist. That's all I had to say.
You had that same conversation when talking about your favorite breakfast drinks.
Yeah,
Oh,
I see what you did there.
Orange juice.
When clearly the superior breakfast drink is just raw eggs.
Yeah.
Just vodka.
Right?
Yeah.
Raw eggs and vodka.
The vodka kills the germs.
Oh, that's my favorite Tom Waits B-side.
The vodka kills the germs.
Right? No, oh, yeah, that too. Raw eggs and vodka backed with vodka kills the dreams.
Yeah.
My favorite breakfast drink is the old lettuce at the bottom of our produce bowl.
Oh, yeah.
Do you wring it out, or you just like?
Yeah, wring it into my mouth like a little dirty towel. Yum yum.
Can I jump in right quick with regarding these 4 songs?
Oh, you want to talk about the songs again?
No.
What? Why would you do that?
No, this is more stat geeky stuff.
Uh-huh.
On the 20th anniversary tour to support essentially this, again, and again, there were 26 shows. Now, what they did was if they played 2 nights in the same place, they had what they called Black Sunshine Night and White Crosses Night, and they would be 2 different set lists. And then if it was a place that were playing one show, it was a completely different set list. But the Black Sunshine and White Crosses, I think, were the same every time. You'd go and you'd get that one of those 2 shows. So on that tour, out of 26 shows, again was played 8 times. Rose March was played 11. Sunkist was played 11. And guess how many times Pox was played?
2.
I'm guessing
69.
0.
0.
Whoa.
Awful.
But they have a
Awful
history of
decision.
not playing their best tunes at shows.
Don't be silly.
When was the last time you heard Pissant at a show?
Calm down.
Or Mouths of Babes? or God?
God's a great song.
Or Home?
They brought out Home on the, like I told you, they pulled that out on the Zeitgeist tour.
Or fuck, I
It's
meant
a classic.
Vanity. I meant Vanity.
Yeah.
I meant Vanity.
I want to. I want to go here in my body, but unfortunately, that's not going to happen.
We should do a cover EP.
But I should say they played Heavy Metal Machine on that tour 15 times.
So clearly, it was a flawed tour. Which version? The version electronic or?
I believe they went with the standard album edition. They played Bodies 14 times.
One of
I didn't know they wrote that song.
Yep.
Let the billies hit the floor.
Let the billies hit the cork.
Yeah. But,
Tied
could you
for
imagine
first.
his scream there?
Let the billies hit the.
Ow.
Strangely tied for first at 17 plays each, Tarantula and A Song for a Son.
Tarantula?
Whoa.
Wow.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
Tarantula
that's
was
good.
like the second song on Black Sunshine, I think.
No, Tarantula. Yeah, that was. Yeah.
Zeitgeist.
Wait, which
Yeah,
tour was
Zeitgeist,
this?
yeah.
That Song for a Son was already in rotation?
Yeah, they he was doing Tear Garden stuff by then.
Oh, spoilers.
I was
Yeah.
thinking. I was thinking of Honey Spider for some reason instead of Tarantula.
They also teased Black Diamond at a show. November 11th, 2008. Yep.
You know, I would love to hear.
That was for my birthday.
There you go.
Because I was in the Sleepy Corgan choir and I requested my favorite Kiss song.
You know what, Victor? I'm proud of you that you knew that was a Kiss tune.
I'm proud that your favorite Kiss tune is the correct one.
It's one of
Yeah.
the correct ones.
Yeah,
So,
it's the
you know,
one I
Victor-
ranked like at the very bottom of
Yeah, it's the
Shigoku
one-
Retsuden.
Yeah,
Well, because that version is bullshit.
Right.
no, because he doesn't understand that, like, hey, you can have riffs and then a vocal melody on top and not just have chord strumming.
Wait, which
I don't
version
get
is
that at
bullshit?
all.
The Jigoku Retsuden, the re-record.
Oh, well, all of those re-records are horrible.
Every
Yeah.
version of that a song that Kiss ever did, other than the original album version, is bullshit. But you know,
The Alive version is supreme, I think.
Yeah,
Mm,
live was pretty great.
Yeah. Same for 100,000 Years.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I'm here. I only listen to Kiss for the doom metal, and because Greg makes me.
And then when my band ripped it off.
Right. Yeah.
Hell yeah.
Well, that is our episode. General thoughts on this release? I feel like we've kind of covered it. Does anyone have anything more they want to add?
I am surprised that this ranking did go the way that it went because I
You and me
clearly
both,
thought
buddy.
I clearly thought that there's no way that so many other people would be so correct about what the far and away best song on this collection is.
It was very easy.
And I posit this. Billy should recall all copies of American Gothic and then reissue it as a new release called Sunkist. And it's a single for a song called Sunkist. And it's backed with Pox. And even though Pox is the better song, Sunkist deserves to be the single. And then it should have just been a single.
I'll speak to him about this. That's not a bad idea.
Yeah. Put it in one of Billy's Instagram Q&A sessions. I'm sure he'll love it.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, as soon as you started that sentence, Billy should, he bristled.
Right.
Oh, wait. He already blocked me.
Yep.
All of his hair stood on end when he heard when somebody in the world said Billy should.
Yeah,
Like, my name's William. Don't tell me what to do.
It was either last night or the night before. I think this perfectly solidifies Billy's Instagram story. Somebody, so he'll put up, you can ask questions for whatever period of time. And somebody just typed in Homer Simpson smiling politely. And he responded, Billy Corgan blocking happily.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Well, but he'll go after people with legit questions about gear that he used and stuff,
but it has to be geeky. You cannot ask him about gear he used during Siamese Dream.
Oh yeah.
You can ask him about gear he used on Monuments to an Elegy.
Oh.
Yeah. And people have called him out on it, and he's responded. He's been like, I don't not want to talk about that era, but when people only want to talk about that era, and I'm like, well, that's kind of flawed.
Fair. Well,
it's fair, but it's flawed.
Yeah.
Some guy that his favorite song is Galapagos. It's unfortunate, but yeah, and that sad person is me. But that's the problem. I mean, you come at him with what you think is an innocent question, and you'll probably get blasted for it.
Yeah.
But he has done some cool Instagram lives during this.
Nice.
Yeah. All right.
I was surprised by how this ranking
he didn't
went.
Play Pox on any of them, though.
I'm surprised by how this ranking went, in that this ranking apparently went for 90 minutes. Why did we talk about this 17-song EP for an hour and a half?
17 songs.
Sorry, 17-minute.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I forgot a bunch of songs then.
I like 17 songs when Pox came on.
Well, most of them were worse than B-Nibs, so.
Just kidding.
Well, that's our episode, ladies and gentlemen. Excellent guests. Where can we find you on the internet, Craig?
You can find me at podsodcast.com, the Pods and Sods network on Facebook, and all of your various podcasting platforms of choice. Thank you.
And Gavin, where can we find you on the internet?
Pox.com.
What'd you say? Vox?
Pox.com.
Pox.com.
Pox.
Oh, Pox. Oh, yeah. No, it's a great song. I'm going to make a fan site to that, so you can go to Pox Rules, homedrules.com. And
is that are those spelled with U's or two O's?
2 O's and 3 Z's at the end of each.
To signify the Sleepy Corgan Choir.
Yes. But I am findable at, I'm in a band called Bent Knee. You can start there. Go to bentkneemusic.com or find us on the Facebook, the Instagram, the Twitter, Bent Knee Music. You can find me. I do Twitch streams and shit. You can go to gavinwa.live and that'll take you to my Twitch page. And I'm actually going to do a stream after we finish recording this, but and then you can find me there, and I'm on Patreon, and I'm doing shit. What of it?
Julia,
fans, man.
Where can people find you on the internet?
I am Lady Celery on Twitter and on Instagram, where I make things sometimes. I draw pictures of Sonic war. And that's it. That's all I do anymore.
Victor, where can people find you online?
You can find me at the VictasticK on Twitter, and you can find my music under the name James Gameboy on Spotify, Bandcamp, and Patreon.
You can also find him on the latest Ragnar and the Fighters release. Earlier this week with a sweet remix of a song about him.
Yeah, called Victor the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
And Steve, where can people find us on the internet?
They can find us at lipstickgeneration.com, wherever they downloaded this podcast from, and most other platforms, except, I don't know, we don't really have an Instagram that we use much, or Snapchat. We certainly don't have it.
on Snap?
Nope. We're also not on TikTok.
I am. I just got on TikTok. Brilliant.
That was so loud.
Oh, hey, has Craig heard the new drops, like from the re-reveal episode and shit?
I don't know, we got a bunch of random new drops that he may or may not have heard.
We're here to take your pornography and sodomize our vast imaginations.
Right?
We're here to take your pornography and sodomize our vast imaginations.
The only way to get this album that we listened to today is by piracy.
Yeah.
I got a bunch of things.
Mouthily.
Mouthily squeeze mine hedgehog.
I like the sleepy choir of Gavins.
Oh, they all do. Oh, they all do.
That's our episode.
So
Bye,
horny
Internet.
for that hedgehog.
Thanks for listening to the Lipstick Panel, hosted by Lipstick Generation. Lipstick Generation's music can be found on all major streaming platforms and at lipstickgeneration.com. If you're listening to the podcast on YouTube, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let us know your ranking of the subject in the comments down below. Feel free to leave us an episode suggestion also. If you're listening on Apple Podcasts or your favorite podcast app, please leave a review and tell a friend about our show. Thanks and rock on.